हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Namaste friends. A warm welcome to the 61st session of GIFT, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. Times and verse by verse, also, I think about twice, seeing the videos that have been uploaded on the Param Vedanta channel. But every time we study the Gita, there is so much learning that we get. There are so many new insights that we get about the verse itself and about our own selves. Our level of mental maturity keeps changing, keeps evolving, and that's why studying it again and again is so important. In today's session, we will continue the study of the magnificent Vishwaroopa Darshana Yoga. The whole chapter is so poetic, so descriptive, and it really helps us understand that the Lord alone pervades this entire universe. And expanded our minds are going to get, and the more we inch towards the Nirguna Brahman. Today's speakers will be Sri Ullas and Srimati Chetana. The session will be moderated by Sri Venkatesh Prasad sir. Over to you, Venkatesh sir.
Thank you, Panaga. Hari Om. Sadashiva-samārambhām Shankarācārya-madhyamām Asmadācārya-paryantām Vande Guru-paraṁparām. Oh. We are in the midst of chapter 11, Vishwaroopa Darshana Yoga, where Arjuna is in the second phase of his response to Vishwaroopa of Lord Krishna. Can we go to next slide, Panaga? Before getting into the verses of the day, let's try to understand what is the Vishwaroopa Darshana. We are in the midst of chapter 11, Vishwaroopa Darshana Yoga, where Arjuna is in the second phase of his response to Vishwaroopa of Lord Krishna. Before getting into the verses of the day, let us try to understand what is this Vishwaroopa Darshana and meaning of Vishwaroopa Ishvara Darshana. Vishwaroopa Darshana in simple words means the vision of the Lord as Vishwaroopa. Rupa is form and Vishwa means universe. The Lord whose very form is universe itself. So now the question is how one can have the darshana of Lord in the form of world itself. As we move on to the next slide, scriptures talk about sadhanas for getting Rama darshana, Krishna darshana, Devi darshana, etc. and define such darshana of deity as Devata Sakshatkara, the direct vision of Lord. We have seen in Puranas how devotees perform tapas, which is nothing but dhyana or meditation. The devotee has to decide the deity whose darshan he wants, visualize that form, and meditate on such form as described in Dhyana Shloka with Purascharanam of the invoking mantra of that particular Ishtadevata, as followed by Dhruva and Prahalada. With this kind of tapas, Lord will appear in that described form, desired form, with this Maya Shakti and give darshana. This is Rama Rupa Ishvara Darshanam or Krishna Rupa Ishvara Darshanam, the vision of the Lord as Rama, as Krishna, etc. Now, if you want Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshanam, you want to have the vision of the Lord in the form of the world. And for that, what should you do? Should you invite the Lord to come in the form of the world? As we go to the next slide, the answer is clear no. Because the Lord has already arrived in the form of world. The Lord in the form of Vishwarupa has already arrived. Tasmadva etasmadatmana akashas sambhutaha Akashat Vayuhu Vayoragnihi Agnerapah Adbhya Prithvi. Taittiriya Upanishad. The only way is learning to see the world in the form of the Lord, not Purascharanam, not Tapas, not Koti Rupa Avriti. They are all meant for Rama Darshana, Krishna Darshanam only. Next slide shows that I had to train my mind to look at the very word as the manifestation of the Lord by clearly understanding and assimilating the teaching of scriptures, which proclaim that the Lord alone manifests in the form of the word, just as every ornament is different version of that one gold alone. Let's move on to the next picture. With this assimilation of my perspective or vision will change. And this change of perspective or this new perspective that I received through the teaching is called Divya Chakshu or Jnana Chakshu, the eye of wisdom, the eye of understanding. And that understanding is that the Lord alone manifests as everything. And therefore, it is not a physical eye. It is not a mystic vision that we are talking about, but is that invisible factor, that intellectual appreciation, which brings reverence in you when you are told that the laddu before you is Tirupati Prasada. Your hands will automatically go to your eyes before you eat it. This is divinization of laddu. I am doing the same thing when I say Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale where I wake up, Gange Chayamane Chaiva Godavari Saraswati when I take bath, and Annapurne Sadapurne before I have food, when I drink water, when I see the sun, when I see the moon, when I am entering the river or whatever I am doing. I have got contact with the Lord, which is Nitya Ishvara Sambandha. This is the very essence of this chapter 11, Vishwaroopa Darshana Yoga, to see God everywhere. While Divya Chakshu gives this vision to see God everywhere, it requires preparedness of mind to gain this. We can see in the next slide that preparedness is nothing but purity of mind, which is the reduction of the Shadripus, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. They are the cataract obstructing the vision of the already available Lord. When the cataract of the obstacle of Kama, Krodhadi impurity, Ahankara, Mamakaradi impurity, that scale which cover the vision is removed, God need not come. I begin to appreciate the already available Vishwarupam. As we see in the next slide, in the Puranas, we get the description of the devotees having darshanam of the Lord. And it is described as a thrilling, extraordinary experience for the devotee. It is fulfilling experience. It is an elevating experience. This is how the scriptures talk about the devotees Ishvara Darshanam. Whether you take Puranas or Ramayana or Mahabharata, we get the description. Shabari waiting for a glimpse of Rama for several years, and at last Rama gives darshanam to Shabari, and the thrilling experience that she goes through is described. Even Tyagaraja sings about Entatine Shabari Bhakyamu. And similarly, we get the description of Krishna Darshanam by various devotees in the Bhagavatam. In all of them, it is described as wonderful, almost mystic type of experience. So, generally we emphasize the object of experience, but we do not focus on the importance of the preparedness on the part of the subject of experience. This is not only true with regard to any experience in the world, this is true with regard to Ishvara Darshanam also. When Rama gives darshanam to Shabari and other devotees, they enjoy the thrill and happiness, and we think that they got Ishvara Darshana Ananda because Rama gave the darshanam. But we forget that it is not Rama's contribution alone, but it is also the contribution of those devotees who have prepared their mind through sadhana. How do you prove this? What should be done to prove this? Very simple. Very same Rama was available to Ravana, and what happened to Ravana by Rama Darshanam? Nothing happened. The object is available, but there is no prepared mind to get the impact of darshanam. Ravana did not get any impact, and if the person is not prepared, even God is helpless. Even Rama is helpless because even though he gave darshanam, nothing happened to Ravana. Similar is the case of Kamsa, who has Krishna darshanam all the time. He never had any impact. He never changed from adharma. As we move on to the next slide, for Ishvara Darshanam to be Ishvara Darshanam, I should go through tremendous preparation. Without my preparation, Even if Ishvara comes right in front of me, nothing will happen. Like the betel nut, we will remain the same. If you know the meaning of the word Vishwaroopa, you should know Vishwaroopa is right in front. That is why in the Vishnu Sahasranama, what is the first name? Vishwam. Then Vishnu Vashatkaraha. Vishwam means universe. The very universe is Ishavasya Rupam. So Arjuna tells the Lord, "Oh Lord, I have understood very clearly from the 7th, 9th, and 10th chapters that you are the Jagat Karanam and therefore you alone are manifesting as the world. I can understand intellectually that you, the Karanam, are available in and through all the Nama Rupas of this universe. But I do not get the impact of Ishvara Darshanam, and therefore Arjuna requests Krishna whether he can help in getting the darshanam. He says in verse 11.3, which you will see in the next slide, Drashtumichhami te rupam Aishwaram Purushottama. We saw how Arjuna was given Divya Chakshu by Krishna to enable him to see Vishwarupa. But shortcut to success always cut short the success. Exam passed with grace marks will not help the candidate pass the tests of life. Promotions, positions secured through influence will not make a person competent, deserving to perform higher responsibilities. This is what happened with Arjuna. His ability derived out of Krishna's grace did not even give him courage to witness the Vishwarupa. Arjuna's initial response on seeing Vishwarupa, which was wonder, is depicted in verses 15 to 22. Then, verse 23 to 30 explains fear, the second response of Arjuna, which we are discussing today. Verse 26 to 30 be specific. Before we take up the today's shlokas for study, let us quickly refresh what we studied in our last session when Arjuna was still in the wonderstruck phase. In the verse 11.21, that is on the next, in the slide you see on the screen, he is mentioning how different people responding in different ways to Vishwarupa Ishvara. He says, well-informed and slightly enlightened group of devatas, Surasangha Ami Vishanti, approach with prayers. Some others, Kechit Bhitaha, respond not with admiration, not with devotion, or not with reverence, but with fear, and few others, Maharshi Siddha Sangaha, Siddhas, the great sages who are enlightened and have miracle powers, are chanting Mangalamastu, Bhadramastu. They are glorifying and praising you comprehensively, Pushkalabhi, in abundance. As we go to in verse 22, here Arjuna says, "O Lord, this Vishwarupam is accessible not only to me, but it is available for all the people who have got the Divya Chakshu." As I said, the Lord, as the universe is already there right from the moment of creation. And who are they? Big list is given. Ekadasha Rudras. These are all various groups of celestials in the higher lokas. Dvadasha Adityas, Ashtavasavaha, Sadhyas, Vishvedevas, Ashwini Devatas, 49 Marutas, Pitru Devatas, Gandharvas, Yaksha, Asuras, Siddhas. They are all appreciating the Vishwarupa. And not only they all see, they are also in wonderment like me. They are all wonderstruck like me. Vismitaha means Ascharya Charitaha, stunned. We come to verse 23. Here onwards, Arjuna enters second phase of his response, that is fear. While appreciating Vishwarupa, Arjuna happens to see the mouth of the Lord, the Vishwarupa, which was briefly mentioned in one of the previous verses, in the 19th verse, Pashyamitvam Deepta Hutashavaktam. Lord's mouth was described as a huge conflagration of fire. And here, the Lord's mouth represents the time principle. It is not the physical mouth that is being talked about, but the mouth represents the time principle, not as the creator principle, but as the destructive aspect. Because Kala has got all the three functions: constructive principle, the sustaining principle, and the destroying principle. And when a person looks at the destructive principle, one is not going to be happy about it. So naturally, the emotion is one of fear. Arjuna happens to see that Laya, the destroyer, and therefore he is frightened. So he says here, Te Rupam Mahat, O Lord, your Vishwarupam is indeed infinite, wonderful. Bahuvaktra Netram, which has got countless number of faces and eyes. Bahuru Padam, your hands are many. Uru, thighs are many. Padam, feet are many. Bahu Udaram, your bellies are innumerable. Why? Because your every belly is your belly. Bahudamstra Kalam, the Bahudamstra Karalam, Your mouth is frightening with protruding teeth, protruding canines like the sharp teeth of the tiger. Drishtva, when I took at the mouth with the protruding canines, lokaha pravyatitaha, all the people are frightened. And that terrible aspect of yours, tatha aham, I am also frightened. That is going to describe further. In verse 24, Arjuna continues his expression of fear. On one side, Arjuna is appreciating the wonderful form, but even if he does not want to look at the mouth, it keeps coming like a frightening movie. Like that, it has given such a tremendous impact. Arjuna is going on describing that frightening mouth, which symbolizes time principle. Therefore, first he describes, O Lord, you are indeed wonderful. Navasprisham, your form is touching the sky. In Vishnu Sahasranamam, Divaspruk Sarvadrug Vyaso Vachaspratirayo Nijaha. Divaspruk is here Navaspruk. Deeptam Anekavarnam, you are effulgent with millions of stars and planets with manifold colors. And again, Arjuna's eyes goes to Vyattananam. I see the mouth which has got fire inside as well as sharp teeth also. Deepta Vishala Netram. I see your eyes also, which are very large and which are very shining. Surya Chandrani Lochanaha. I see the Lord's eyes in the form of the sun and the moon. And from Drishtva, seeing this form of yours, and especially the mouth of yours, Pravyathita Antaratma, my innermost heart is frightened, disturbed, tormented, afflicted. Antaratma means the mind, not the Atma. Dhritim Navindami, I have lost the steadiness of heart. I am disturbed, I am weakened. Samam cha Vishnu, I have lost my peace of mind. My tranquility is disturbed. I have become restless. With the verse 25 now, Arjuna's mind again goes to the mouth of the Lord. He is not seeing anything other than the mouth. Te mukhani, your mouth which is frightening with the protruding teeth. Protruding symbolizes the pain that is caused to the individual. Kala as the cause of pain that is symbolized by sharp teeth. So your mouth is frightening with the sharp teeth and which are comparable to Kalanala Sannibhani, which are comparable to Pralaya Kalagni. And when I took that at that mouth, Disho Najane, that seems to be pervading all over, that I have lost the sense of direction. Nalabheja Sharma, I am greatly disturbed. So I wonder whether you are a compassionate Lord or whether you are a cruel Lord. Prasida Devesha Jagannivasa, O Lord, be gracious to me. At least do not open the mouth. Everything is fine. If you close the mouth, be gracious to me. Hey Jagannivasa, O Lord, you who is the abode of the whole cosmos. Arjuna's fear is unending and continues today also, which will be explained by speakers of the day, Sri Villas and Srimati Chetana. Since all the verses will only be the expression of fear by Arjuna and need no introduction, I will not be coming in between and hence request the speakers to begin once they see their name appear on the screen. To begin with, I invite Sri Villas to take up 26 to 28 verses. Villas, please.
Thank you, Venkatesh ji. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So, as Venkatesh ji also mentioned, what is Vishwaroopa Darshana? It's a very important milestone in our sadhana. Our sadhana starts with Ekarupa Darshanam. We have a Ishta Devata, we have a form where we have all our devotion for. And then from there, we go to the next step where we find or where we have to recognize that Lord is everywhere in the entire Vishwa. It is His Rupa only. So we go from Ekarupa to Vishwarupa to finally go to the Arupa Ishvara. So if we understand from that wave analogy, we have a beautiful wave, which is our object of devotion in the beginning. And then we slowly move our attention from one beautiful wave to the entire ocean. And then from that ocean, we'll go directly to the water, which is Arupa Ishvara. But what happens is once we go to the ocean level, in the ocean, everything is happening. All the tornadoes are coming, cyclones are coming. There are beautiful sea creatures are also there, but one fish is eating another fish. All the things are happening there. And what is our situation? We want to see all the good parts, but we are a little averse to seeing all the quote unquote bad parts. And that was the condition of Arjuna also. When Lord opened his mouth, now that is also part of the entire creation also, right? It's also part of the Vishwarupa. So we cannot select and choose to see only one aspect of it and ignore the other. So Lord was showing everything, but he was getting frightened. And it was like hundreds of suns all over the place. If there is one sun, we can understand, okay, this is east direction, that is west direction. But if there is so much of light all over the place, he is getting so much confused. He's lost the sense of even direction, which is basically he's lost his whole compass, like what to look for, and it's completely frightened. And so he's like, please close your mouth, rest, I want to see. And he has always seen Krishna in a very benevolent form as his friend, always trying to help, guide, care for him. And now he is seeing in this form. Again, as Venkatesh, you mentioned that this is because of that shortcut he was given, the divine eyes. He did not get it through sadhana. So if tomorrow we also get a divine eye, we may not be able to embrace all that we are seeing. Today also, when even at a very small scale, when we see some suffering in the world, we always start questioning God, that how can God be so cruel? God is not cruel. God is always Mangala Bhavan. But what he will not interfere with the law of karma. If you have done something in your past, then all the punya and papa karmas you have to bear. So he is not being amangal. This is just how the world functions. So now he's requesting, let's stop that. Now let's come to our first verse of the day, 11.26. Next slide, please. Say, Ami ch tvam Dhritarashtrasya putra sarve sahevav Nipal sangaihi Bhishmo Dronas Suta putras tathasau sahasma diyairapi yodha mukhyaihi. Now he's seeing what all is happening in that mouth. So he's been resisting to see all that mouth. So now what is happening is what you resist actually persists. So he's actually, the thing that he does not want to focus on, he's having a very zoom vision of that. Now he's looking very closely what is actually happening in that mouth. So, all that is happening there is just another function of Kal, which we have seen all the time happening. When Kal keeps devouring people, there is everything happening in the world. There is birth happening, there is marriage happening, then there is death is also happening. All the things happen. But we try to selectively look at one thing and then say, oh, this is bad happening in the world. This is just a Kala Chakra that happens, which is a very integral part. But because of our Deha Abhiman, we have all our Raga and Dvesha likes and dislikes. Based on that, we consider certain things as not good, and so we don't want to see them. But it will still happen, and we ultimately get to see that also. So now everybody he sees that is entering in his mouth. Who all are entering? All the sons of Dhritarashtra. Because Lord says, when Arjuna was saying that I don't want to fight this war and all, so he initially tells, no, you should fight. That's the right thing for a Kshatriya to do. And later he says, don't worry, I have killed all of them. You are just a nimitta matra. At least for that you fight. So Lord is already, so this is already predestined that all these sons of Dhritarashtra are going to get killed and get into the mouth of Kal. And many kings, all the kings from both the sides, there are so many kingdoms, all big forces have come. It is told that after Mahabharata only very few people survived. So everybody was devoured by Kala. Many kings from both sides are getting devoured. In the next slide we also see that he is trying to now see that one thing which he wanted to avoid, Arjuna, in the very first chapter was that he does not want to kill or even see the death of his greatest guru Dronacharya and Bhishmacharya. And so he's even seeing them dying. One thing which he is very happy was that, okay, Karna, the Sutaputra, is also getting inside the face, inside the mouth of the Lord. So all that he's seeing. And ultimately what is happening is, it is inevitable that they will die one day. That Sharira is going to die, and that is inevitable. And he was not able to accept that. And it is not just with Arjuna, it happens with us also. Whenever we see suffering in the world, we see, oh, this is something happening to them. But that is inevitable to us also. Not just our near and dear ones, it will happen to us also. Our Sharir is also going to get dead one day. So we have to accept the inevitable. All these choiceless situations, we cannot lament about those. We have to accept them. And that is what happens once we do that sadhana. If you would have gone through that proper channel, perhaps he would have understood that. But with that shortcut of divine chakshu, this is what he lands up to. Now, in the next slide, there is just more of that description. Is that in 27 he says, Vaktrani te twaramana. Twaramana means very speedily. Vishanti, Vaktrani te Vishanti. All of them are entering into that Vaktra, the mouth of the Lord. Damshtra Karalani Bhayanakani. and that mouth is protruding, teeth are there, very bhayanak. It is very, very frightening. Kechit vilagna dashanantareshu sandrishyante churnitairuttamangaihi. And how, when we eat, let's say, Swamiji gives a analogy of when we eat groundnuts, and not like one by one. Some people eat one by one, some people would eat, let's say, a fistful. Then when you eat that some are getting very powdered, some are half eaten, some are very, so like that when Lord is eating that, just to show that whole scene is so frightening, that the people are getting bitten and chewed in some parts, and some are getting like completely, so trying to make that very, very frightening, very, very terrible. So in the next slide we see that Twaramana, very speedily, all these people are entering. Some are getting stuck between the teeth. That's what happens, right? Basically, they're trying to show that it is such a terrible scene that is happening. And some are partly bitten. What does partly bitten mean? Like somebody's head is gone, somebody's leg is gone, somebody's stomach. We face so many different diseases. Like somebody gets a fracture in leg, somebody has a heart attack, somebody's liver or pancreas are not working. Like that, that's the way of Kala to actually, and so this is like a symbolism for the same. So all these things he's seeing and getting more and more frightened. So this is just an extension of that. Now in the next slide, we see even further, he goes that Yatha Nadinam Bahavo Ambuvegaha. So how Nadi, all the rivers, ultimately, what is their final destination? Whatever is our final destination is death. Nadi's final destination is ocean. It can go this way, that way, sometimes on in the other side of the ocean. But at the end of the day, it is going to get into the ocean. That is inevitable. There is no other way around it. And that is what was happening here also. Just like, and all these people were entering into the mouth of the Lord, just like how all the rivers enter into the ocean. Samudramevabhimukha dravanti. Tatha tavami naralok viraha. All the viras, all the, all the strong people, Vishanti vaktranya bhivijan vijwalanti. They are all getting into the mouth, that blazing mouth, jwalanti, of the Lord. The next slide, there is some more explanation written. Final destination of all these soldiers, not just soldiers. He was seeing all the living beings also entering into the mouth, because Kala is only not for people who are fighting the war, it's for everybody. So many people just rushing into the blazing mouths, just like rivers entering into that ocean. You can imagine how. So, as Venkatesh told, the process of creation is that first Akasha is there, then Vayu is there, then Agni is there, then Apa comes, then Prithvi comes. But the destruction is in the opposite manner. That first the Prithvi element is going to get destroyed and it will get into the water. So that's like the pralay. So you can imagine how frightening that is. And then the next thing is like everything now starts getting burnt up into the fire element. So that is what he was seeing in a symbolic way. So it was very frightening to see, and everything is now going back to the origin. So this is how it got created. Now that creation is going back to its origin. So when Kala comes, there is no protection that can help. It is not that somebody who has done this or that and somebody is very much veer. Nobody will Kal Bakshofai. Everybody is going to get bitten by Kal. So that is inevitable. So we also need to understand in our life is that this is what is going to happen at the Vishwaroopa level. This is what will happen if we have for this body. This is what is going to happen. So we need to make sure that our sadhana goes to next level, next level, next level, and then finally we get ourselves identified with the higher self, and so then we will be at peace, or else we will be again be directionless and so frightened, just like how Arjuna is. Thank you, Hari.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. While appreciating the Vishwaroopa of the Lord, blessed by a Divya Chakshu, Arjuna initially expresses wonderment, seeing the magnitude of Vishwaroopa, which consists of the whole creation along with time and space, which is an integral part of the Lord's Vishwaroopa. Time and space can never be separated from the creation. And this we can clearly see in our sleep experience. In deep sleep state, when the whole world is resolved, we do not experience time and space also. And when we wake up, along with creation, time and space also comes into existence. From this, it is very clear time and space are an intrinsic property of creation. And therefore, when Arjuna experiences Vishwaroopa, he experiences the time aspect of the creation also as an integral part of this Lord's creation. And this time principle, or the Kala Tattvam, is symbolized by the mouth of the Lord swallowing several living beings, including his near and dear ones. He is terrified to see this aspect. So, using another analogy to describe the scene of the flaming mouths, Arjuna says, Yatha pradiptam jwalanam patanga vishanti nashaya samriddha vegaha tathaiva nashaya vishanti lokaha tava api vaktrani samriddha vegaha. Just as moths enter at increasing speed towards the blazing fire for their own destruction, the living beings are rushing with increased speed towards the flaming mouths of the Lord. So like moths, we rush towards a flame, not knowing the consequences, knowingly or unknowingly, to our destruction. Thus, Kala Tattvam is described in these verses as an integral part of Vishwaroopa Ishvara. This time principle is the cause of unmanifestation or resolution. In fact, it is there in every object, and that time principle makes the object arrive in the creation, grow old, decay, and die. This invisible, all-pervading, integral Kala Tattvam is symbolized as the mouth of the Lord. And the Kala Tattvam has two-fold Shaktis. One is the creative power and the other destructive power. If Arjuna had the totality of vision, if he had seen Vishwaroopa as an integral part, having both birth and death as two sides of Vishwaroopa, he would have seen both as auspicious or mangalam. Since both good and bad are aspects of the same God, I can never accept one and reject the other. Birth and death, arrival and departure, growth and decay, health and ill health is also mangalam. Thus, if I accept everything as auspicious, Vishwaroopa will not be frightening. This is the Vedantic approach. But what is our problem? We want to see birth as mangalam, but we do not want to accept death. As long as we have this narrow attitude, world will be a cause of terror. And Arjuna's problem is he wants to accept one part of the Lord, the creative principle, and he does not want to accept the other part, the destructive principle. This is not the law of creation. And if you want to avoid Kala, there is only one way out. The only place where Desha and Kala are absent is when you do Atma Sharanagati or Atma Jnanam. As long as we are away from the Atma, we have to accept Kala as an integral part of our life. Just as Markandeya embraced Shivalinga and was saved from Kala, similarly, if you want to be saved from the mouth of the Lord, you should also embrace Atma. It is the only place where Kala is absent. Therefore, Atma Sharanagati or Atma Jnanam alone takes you beyond. So Arjuna continues in the next verse. He says, Leli hyaso grasamanaha samanta Lehi hasya grasamana samanta lokan samagran vadanayar jwala bihi tejo bhir apurya jagat samagram bhasastava ugraha pratapanti vishnu. Stretching all over, devouring all people in all worlds, with mouth blazing with flames. You seem to be licking your lips with enjoyment. The radiation of heat from your fiery mouth and fierce rays is scorching the world. We are all cooked in the fire of Kala. Now Arjuna doubts the nature of God. Bhagwan is all sympathy, all compassion, all beauty, all smiles. This is his picture of Bhagwan. Here, he is eating everyone, he's swallowing people, and he does not seem to have any sympathy at all. It looks as though the Lord wants to tell all the people that if you do not understand the law of birth and death, and if you do not become mature enough to accept it, it is your problem that you are suffering. Do not blame the Lord. Through the scriptures, we have a chance to understand the death. In fact, before we die, we should very clearly know what is death. And scriptures have provided enough input for assimilating that. But forget about talking about death. We do not even want to imagine about death. By closing our eyes to this death principle, we are losing the chance to face it and understand it. And if we do not grow in maturity, if we have a fear of loss through death, then the Lord will not have any sympathy at all. Arjuna says the Lord seems to enjoy swallowing these people. It appears as wonderful feast for him. The Kala Tattvam does not affect old age only. We should remember that. It is affecting even right now because every moment we are growing old and approaching death. We have been given the scriptures, the intelligence, and the free will to study and understand what death is. Many are reluctant to even think of death because it is considered inauspicious. This denies us the chance to discuss and understand death. So to Arjuna, the Bhagwan seems to enjoy devouring people in this verse. Therefore, he has begun to doubt the nature of God. Is the Lord compassionate or is he cruel? We'll find out in the following verses. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, dear Ulas and Chetana ma'am and Venkatesh sir, for explaining to us that the Vishwaroopa is a part and parcel of our life. We have to understand that just like how night follows day, destruction is going to follow creation, and it must be our sadhana to develop a sense of equanimity when we are confronted with both. With that, we come to the end of today's class. And as we have been um, stating that Param Vedanta offers Guru Dakshina to all our gurus from whom we have learned so much, from who have brought the teachings of our glorious scriptures in a manner that we can understand. So we would like to offer our gratitude in the form of Guru Dakshina to our gurus, and the bank account details are displayed on the screen. They have also been sent in all the WhatsApp and Telegram groups. If you think you have benefited, then do consider making a contribution so that our gurus can continue doing all the life transforming work that they are doing. We will meet again in the Atma Bodha class, that is a new Prakarana Grantha that we have started on the 17th of January. We end with our Shanti Patha. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you.